what's in the water that you're drinking and or bathing in, taking baths and showers and that kind of stuff.
Study after study has said that people who are exposed to chlorinated water have an increased incidence of heart disease, heart attacks, breast cancer in women, and Alzheimer's and other forms of cancer. And you know what? Most people don't know that we get 2/3 of our exposure to chlorine in the bath or the shower when it's absorbed through your skin. Let me show you something. This is ordinary Tucson tap water. And it's the same water because I'm pouring it out of the same glass. These are the same pool test drops you test for chlorine in your backyard swimming pool. I'll drop 5 drops in each glass.
Oh, look at that. Almost instantly.
And if it turns yellow, there's chlorine in there. There's
Very
chlorine.
clearly.
Now, I'm going to swish my fingers around in this one to simulate taking a bath or a shower. Just for a couple of seconds. Watch. Same number of drops.
Wow, no sleight of hand here. And you're saying in those 2 seconds that you swished your fingers in there?
All that chlorine was absorbed right through the skin of my fingers. Now, I'm going to do something that I haven't done much down here. This is just a slice of potato. I'm going to swish it around in there. Just for that length of time.
Okay.
Drop the same number of drops in there.
Look at that. Just the same as your fingers. Don't tell me it absorbed directly into the food.
Every bit of that chlorine just went right into the food. So whatever you're cooking in chlorinated water, it's going right into your food and you're eating.
So people think about it, well, I got a filter on my faucet in the sink, or I drink bottled water, or fill in your next solution that people do. So I'm good. There's no big deal. I live on city water, or I live on rural water, or I'm not on a well, is usually the case. And I live in the city and I don't have a choice, I live in an apartment, whatever. So I put a filter on it for the drinking water. Okay, well, that's something. I mean, there's people who say, well, put filters on the shower, head. And I guess that's something. It's better than nothing. But really, all in all, people that say I drink bottled water, I filter my drinking water, that's so small in comparison. It's a fraction of what you are intaking from the water source that you're using, whether it's in your showers, you're bathing, you're cooking, you're baking, and on top of it you got your animals, if you have dogs, cats, that kind of stuff, or anything else, fish, for example. I'll go over this back, this was many, many years ago. We lived in one of our first homes, and it was in a development, and we were on city water. And my kids were younger at that time, the one in particular I'm talking about, he had fish in an aquarium with fish. So got it, he was younger, we filled it up, with water from the faucet, or the bathtub, I think it was, whatever, and went and purchased fish. I believe we got like 8 to 10 fish, and within 2 to 3 days, they're all dead. All of them, for the most part. And I was like, gee, are they getting overfed? Or are they, what is the cause of this, case of this? We watched them. We didn't keep the fish food in there, that kind of stuff, just out of precaution, because maybe they're getting fed, that kind of stuff. And then we went through the motions, dumped it, cleaned it, and went out, filled it up again, and got some more fish. And pretty much the same story, the same circumstance. Within 2 to 3, maybe 4 days at the most, all of them, for the most part, were dead. And it was like, I have no idea, I don't understand. And back then, we were young, and my wife and I, and new parents, that kind of stuff, for the most part, within years, within under 5 years, something like that. And so we just trusted what people told us, what the television told us, or doctors or teachers, that kind of stuff. Because you grew up with there was the 30 figures, and the 30 figures know more than you know, and that kind of stuff. And anyways, so then I started digging into some things here and there, and on that same band, I was like, well, I ran across this thing on culling of our water and the whole thing of fluoride in the water.
People think that fluoride is pharmaceutical grade, and it's the furthest thing from that. So it's nothing like what's in toothpaste. Basically, the fluoride that's used to put into the public water supply is the waste product from phosphate fertilizer industry. So essentially what happens is phosphate rock is fluoride rich. About 4% of phosphate rock is full of fluoride. So we have to remove the fluoride in order to have the phosphate for fertilizer. And to do that, we add sulfuric acid to the phosphate rock. Now, two toxic gases are given off, hydrogen fluoride and silicon tetrafluoride. And these two gases are too toxic to go into the environment. So what happens is they're captured in what's called wet scrubber chimneys, where water droplets are dropped from the top of a chimney and they collect the water vapor, and at the bottom is the solution. Now, excess silica is removed from that, and that is what goes directly into our shared public water supply.
And they have to wear hazmat suits and things, is that right? To be able to clean it?
That's right. They wear hazmat suits, and they have to wear hazmat suits to add it to the public drinking water as well.
Chlorine in the water and that kind of stuff. And I watched a documentary, then I started researching more and more and reading more, and then I talked to another doctor about it. He was functional medicine. He was once part of pharma, then he branched off and did his own holistic thing and functional medicine thing there. And talked to him, and everything he showed me and told me, it's like, that makes sense. And so, and this is a span of, it wasn't very long when all this stuff went down. So then my wife and I went out and we would buy gallons of jugs of spring water, the large gallon jugs of them. And back then they were 69 cents a piece or 73 cents a piece for a gallon jug of spring water, and we got 5 to 8 of them, maybe 10 at a time. We'd go to whatever your local market, pick it up, and then we filled up the aquarium with that spring water. And then we went and got fish again. And those fish lived long, prosperous lives. I mean, you just kept the tank clean, the aquarium clean, that kind of stuff. And if you needed to add more water, you added more spring water. We never did any more from the bathroom or the bathtub or the sink to fill it up, because I don't have a for sure thing telling me that that's absolutely what it was, but circumstances and history of it shows me that's what it was. So then we just went from there, and then from that we branched out and I started doing more research, and then we, years down the road, once we were able to financially and that kind of stuff, then we were able to move out of that place, bought some land, built our own house, and drilled and got a well, and that was night and day. It opened up so much, because you can just tell it's a huge difference. Especially you just feel on your skin, and the water, everything about it. So then we lived there for quite some time. And then once we moved again for various reasons, and then we got stuck in a situation again. And fast forward, we were there for a couple of years, stuck there, and we're on rural water, they call it, which is basically city water under a different name. So they put all the poisons in it still, like they do it your city water, your water that you're drinking from all the time, restaurants and your apartment or whatever it is, or your house if you're on city water. I call it the poison in the water. It's poison. That's what it is. That's what's in there. And so finally, fast forward, we got enough, and we tried, and we got a few dirt holes we drilled, and thousands of dollars, and no success. Finally, after a couple of years and a lot of money, a lot of funds, and a lot of work, finally we hit and got ourselves a well. So we're back on a well again, and that's night and day. And no amount of money, and I'm not saying this because we are not millionaires, we're not rich by any means, but no amount of money I think would have been worth it to not live on your own well, your own. That's your own water. It can't be taken from you, and it's so much better. It's natural. It's nature's filtration that goes through the ground for the most part. So just trying to make this faster, but anyway, so people that are in charge of the city waters and the rural waters and that kind of stuff, all the people, for the most part, really have no idea. They have no clue. It's a job. They go do their job and then they go home, and that's that. They don't really know anything really about the hazards that's in the water that they're allowing to happen, or maybe they're causing to happen, or they're behind, and they really don't know because they're ill-educated, uneducated, indoctrinated, whatever you want to call it. And for the most part, like I said, it's just a job to them. So unless they have some need to look into it or some desire to, it won't happen. That's just human nature for the most part. Most of the time, not everyone. So I'll list some of these. There's chlorine in it. Chlorine is added to drinking water as a purification technique. However, it can be absorbed through your physical consumption and your skin for bathing, showering, that kind of stuff. And if you think about it, while you drink and you filter your water, you drink bottled water, whatever it is, that's such a small amount of water, really, that you're getting, versus when you're in your shower, whether it's a matter of minutes to, maybe it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever the time is, 3 minutes. You are there underneath that water in that shower or that bath or whatever, and all those chemicals are just seeping in your body. Your skin's just soaking it all, and it's all getting within your body, and that's not good. So you can't just say I got a filter on my drinking water. It's not enough, in my opinion. And along with this, it's fluoride. Fluoride. Let's see, fluoride has been added to tap water for many, many decades, since 1960s, and it's quote unquote to help reduce tooth decay.
That one of the holy things that you're not supposed to talk about is fluoridation of the American water supply. In this book, it says, the principal source of the fluoridation is a poisonous chemical, sodium fluoride, which has long been the principal ingredient of rat poison.
See here, perhaps. Here is the fluoridated, and here is the non-fluoridated set of 10 cities each. Here's where the fluoridation started, and before this time, both sets of cities were identical. But no sooner had fluoridation started than this curve began to go up, the deaths began to increase, so that this effect occurs very promptly within 1, 2, or 5 years.
Now this, sir, is conclusive evidence that fluor kills because of cancer.
It is one of the most conclusive bits of scientific and biological evidence that I have come across in my 50 years in the field of cancer research.
Would this then, in your opinion, be the end of fluor in water, in drinking water?
It should be the end, and in the United States, it should so be the end by federal law known as the Delaney Amendment, which says that anything found to induce cancer in man or animals cannot be legally put into the food or drink of man or animals. This, you see, amounts to public murder on a grand scale. It is a public crime, it would be, to put fluoride in the drinking water of people.
So it's supposed to help reduce tooth decay, but now people are drinking it all the time and showering and bathing in it all the time. What does that have anything to do with the health of your teeth and prevent tooth decay? So it is very harmful. It's a poison. It's a rat poison, actually. If you look at the vats and the huge barrels, if you get a chance, if you go to a city water or town water or whatever, and you see it, it's there and it has the crossbones and it has the poison on it, and it's the fluoride, basically, and that's what they're dumping in there. Well, fluoride is a neurotoxin, and it disrupts endocrine system, and it's a disruptor, like I said, and it's used as rat poison, so rats get poisoned from it. And basically what it is, it's runoff from aluminum mining, and that's what it was back before this got instituted into drinking water as a benefit for tooth decay. It was a runoff from aluminum mining, and it was a toxic waste that the industry didn't have anywhere really to dump it because it wasn't allowed because of the EPA and those kind of organizations. So you make a deal with the government, with mother government or father government, and you get in, you're like, well, what we can do is we can pass it off as a benefit, and we'll put so many minute particles per billion or million or whatever they did and get it into the drinking water, and the people will be happy about it because they think it's healthy, they think it's good for them, while we're dumping our toxic discharge or toxic runoff from the mining we're doing for aluminum. And that's what they had done in the 60s, and it's still there today. There's a good number of countries and different places that do not allow it in the drinking water and do not allow it in the people's water for shower and bathing, but it's still here in America. I believe it's still in a lot of parts of other places too that are Western, and it's not so much in the Eastern kind of countries, developments, whatever. There's arsenic that's been found in these city real waters. Herbicides. Now herbicides, they enter drinking water by accumulation in public soil and water sources, but most frequently rainfall that's happening next to those places, and irrigation that's a wash that runs down your main drains, your main runoff ditches from a lot of these apparatuses, a lot of these city water places or rural water places. They happen to be adjacent to one of these other ones, and that's one you'll find a high number of herbicides in the drinking water, the public water. There's lead. Lead is a heavy metal found in public drinking water, public water. It's as a result, usually, of corrosion of the plumbing systems, the old, very old, dated plumbing systems in these city waters and these rural water systems that never get taken care of, never get replaced, never get upgraded. They just sit there. The old stagnant pipes, it's from there. Usually it leaches and soaks into there because they're just so old and decrepit. Mercury from industrial waste, usually same sort of scenario where it's adjacent to some of these water, systems for the county, the city, that kind of stuff, the state, and they're just close by or adjacent by, and there's no blockage, there's no stopping, there's no concern. The contamination of the run into one another, the mixing. Nitrates have become a common contaminant in water, partially due to their use as a filter. Fertilizer, runoff from factory farms that flow into surface and groundwater and ends up in drinking water and your water for your bathing and showering. Now, the main place that these cities and these rural waters and these communities get a lot of their water, it's from lakes or rivers, and as well as I know, that's not the cleanest water sources, but it's some of the easiest and some of the ones that they say we can access this river and we can access this lake. Usually it's like a river, but lakes also, and we'll get that water and we'll run it, we'll take it, and from there now we can not only filter, but we can add all these other chemicals to it to combat and try to knock down the harms that what may or may not be in the river water or the lake water. So that's that's the reasoning for this, so they say, which really there's so much better way around it. I mean, a heavy filtration system could do a lot of it, in my opinion. But anyways, I'm saying this because, yes, not everyone can afford it, not everyone has the means, not everyone can go out and drill their own well. I understand that. And I'm just getting this out there because if people are thinking, I got to get away from this water somehow for my child, my pets, for myself, for my spouse, for whatever, and I'm just here to tell you, I'm not a doctor, but I can really feel the benefit of not being on the poisoned water that I call poisoned water, poisoned bathing water, poisoned drinking water. That is from the city. That is from the rural community. That is from the town, whatever it is. I can tell a huge difference, and I'm saying this because there are other things that can be done. Just a filter on the drinking water, that's a start. How about a filter on your shower head? How about a filter on your bath head? How about some whole home filter along with adding individual filters on top of those things? I don't know. I don't have the answer. I'm just trying to make bring awareness to people to say this is a serious deal that doesn't really get talked about. No one really says it or shows it anywhere where people are looking, because it's, we won't worry about it. We'll just keep going on with life because they're throwing so much at us at this angle to keep us busy and preoccupied as all this other stuff is going on that's so much more detrimental. It might not be at the moment, but the buildup of it can be for yourself and your family and whatever. But this is all I really have to say, and I want to thank you for watching. And as always, if you like this, like, share, subscribe, and stay vigilant. Protect yourself and your family.